in South Africa should not be taken lightly. Over the weekend, the United States Embassy said it had received information that terrorist groups were planning to carry out attacks in South Africa. The warning said attacks may target sites frequented by U.S. citizens, including high-end shopping areas and malls in the economic hub of Johannesburg and Cape Town, which is popular with tourists. Yesterday, Britain also warned of possible terrorist attacks in the country. Tourists in the country, and for an analysis on Africa, successes and challenges, we are joined by Martin Ewi, senior researcher with the Institute for Security Studies. Well, thank you very much for joining us on our program.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
All right. When the terror alerts came, we were told not to panic. But what do you make of these threats, though? Because many people are saying they would panic because they don't feel comfortable to go to the shopping malls.
Well, it is true, and that has been the controversy with this kind of security warnings. On the one hand, we know that the public needs to know about what is happening because they themselves are needed in terms of the security apparatus to prevent any such an attack. But on the other hand, once the public is aware that there's going to be any such attack, it is bound to raise fear and panic among the public. So the key question here now is how can we balance between the need for awareness and also the need to prevent any panic among the public?
Well, it's not going to be easy for a bomb to select tourists and Americans as well as the British in South Africa. If a bomb explodes, it's going to hit all of us in a shopping mall. So why would then South Africa be a target?
Well, yes, I think the security messages or warning was meant for the American citizens in South Africa. But we all know that if terrorists hit any part of South Africa, it's going to be the South African people who are going to bear more of the cost. And that's why this is primarily a South African concern. But why would terrorists want to hit South Africa? We have to take into consideration the fact that South Africa lives in a global world where, we are all interconnected. We also have to take into consideration the fact that there is an ongoing war in Syria, in Iraq, in Libya, where the international community is involved in fighting against criminal groups, including the Islamic State, which is regarded as the biggest terrorist group. And of course, alongside the Al-Qaeda, which has been the traditional terrorist group in the world. Now, why would these groups want to strike South Africa? They want to strike South Africa because they have declared their interest or objective to strike U.S. and European interests around the world. This will include their interest in South Africa. And I think this is where South Africa is vulnerable. And I think this is why the alert that was issued was actually that they are planning to attack U.S. Interests in South Africa. The message went on to specify that this could be in shopping malls, upscale market areas, and so on. And that this will also this could take place mostly in Johannesburg and Cape Town. This is the most precise security warning that we've gotten, which is way more precise than the one that was issued last year in September, which basically mentioned that there was a potential risk of a terrorist attack on American interests in South Africa. This one has provided far more details than the one last year, including even timing, because it mentioned that this could be in the near term. The near term could be something like soon. It could be something of months, weeks, and even a year sometimes.
Just on that note, I mean, we've seen a trend where when threats like this were issued to the US, to France and the UK, they would be downplayed or ignored to a larger extent, and they would eventually happen. So what is your interpretation on how the South African government has responded towards this, and what are the security implications?
Well, I would want to hope that the government public declarations are not reflective of the policies that are being put in place because security warnings of this nature should not be taken lightly. They should not be taken for granted. I think they call for extra vigilance among the population. They call for the government to implement more security protocols. They call for the strengthening of security in the border areas, and they call for the alertness of the security agencies so that there shouldn't be any complacency or loopholes in the system. But again, I think that what I've noticed between last year and this year is that the South African public is not yet very used to this kind of security warnings, which are very common in other parts of the world. If you take, for example, Nigeria, which is going through, Boko Haram and now the attacks in the Niger Delta region. Nigeria has been used to this kind of warning. Most often, when the warnings are issued, the Nigerian population is hardly aware. Even at the same time that this warning was issued for South Africa, a warning was issued for the rest of Europe on the 31st of May. But we didn't hear much about it because the Europeans are used to this kind of alertness. Now, this could actually be something that the South African government could also pursue, because most governments now have this alertness system where they raise security alertness to indicate that there was a potential threat. And this does not mean that the public should go panic, that the public should be worried. But what it basically means is that the public just need to implement basic security awareness and security consciousness. They need to be conscious of the environment where they are. They need to be able to take necessary steps wherever they find things that, or people or behaviors that are suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. That's Martin Ewi from our Pretoria studios talking to us about the threat that has been issued by ISS to South Africa, targeting American and British interests right here in our country. And of course, we would continue to analyze more on this as far as the checklist of security alertness and the capacity of South Africa to handle such threats. But in any case, let's move on with our business. The BCI, that is Business Confidence Index, has suffered a new low. In May, it came in at 79.3,